Cody Collier, how are you, brother? We are here for the GNCC race report, round nine, Snowshoe. I'm just going to get this out of the way ahead of time, okay? The pregame that Walker Fowler and Adam McGill played on social media was fantastic. Whoever's behind the drawings and the way they did that, you need to pat that person on the back. I'm not sure Walker Fowler or Adam McGill could have pulled it off. They had to have some help.
I don't know. Walker's getting pretty media active on the social medias here lately, so I could see him figuring out something like that. So
Well,
no, they both seem very into it. Both seem like they're having fun with it. But yeah, no, happy to be here for another show with you, Leonard. Right for Snowshoe recap.
hey, so same here. Glad to always have you, and I appreciate your insights to the GNCC world. Where I'm a little on the outside, and I don't totally understand the craziness that goes on there, and the fact that you guys ride at a higher pace through really tight, technical, tough terrain that I'm never going to do. Just not going to happen. And maybe because you were raised in it, it's second nature to you. But for me, hitting edges in fifth gear is no big deal. But going through the trees in second gear is probably a little faster than I really want to go. So
Oh yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. Like Joel Hetrick is a top 10 guy over here, but whenever he came to GNCC a few years ago, but then he's dominant in his sport. You know what he knows.
right, right. Exactly. Hey, let's start off with, the weather seemed pretty spectacular. Yeah, there was some mud, but that made it more interesting. And that made it snowshoe, really, with rain, no rain, bad weather, good weather, all of it mixed in there, made for what I think, based on everything I seen, a fantastic race.
Yeah, I think a lot more of the water ran off the mountain than I anticipated. It definitely had tolls, definitely had wet spots, but for the most part, the course was pretty racy. It has a good rocky bottom there, as everybody knows. So a lot of the trails were pretty much down to the rock, or the fire roads were in pretty good condition. So yeah, the track was super racy. It was gnarly with the rocks, and with the spots that did get deep, it got frame deep and 2 and 3 lines wide in spots. But I thought the track was really fun.
That's awesome. Hey, let's talk about the turnout for the youth race. Typical, lot of young people racing in the early AM.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that early in the morning, most of the time there's
Did we have a
fog.
freeze?
The fog's so thick that you're up in the clouds.
Uh, did we freeze?
I believe so. We back rolling now.
Yeah, we're back rolling now. How
All
was the
right.
turnout there for the youth morning race?
It's really good. It's really good. Normally, the youth starts at 8 a.m. up there, and that early in the morning, you think it's fog around here, but you're up at 48 elevation, so you're actually up in the clouds that early in the morning.
Really? That
Yeah, it was super cool when I was racing youth, getting to start in the clouds and watching dissipate throughout the day, and as you went up and down the mountain, the clouds coming and going. It was pretty cool.
that's awesome. I want to talk about these two guys before we get into the winner. Stetson and Bodie seem to be having a battle to find out who's going to be the winner, the points champion. Bodie has yet to put himself on top of the box, but he's bouncing second, third, second, third, second, third, second, third. Um, and Stetson has won four of them, and he bounces around in the top four. So these guys are having what it seems to be just an epic battle. And then you throw in Kole Brandt, who got the first overall. I don't know if he got overall for the day, but he was first in his class. And he's not that far behind in points. These young kids are just throwing down.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, there's a lot of talent in that front row. There's 6 or 7 guys that could win on any given day.
Yeah.
Lane Cloud is up in the mix. There's several of them.
Yeah, he was fourth.
Yeah, I believe he got on the podium. I believe Bodie was off the podium, so I'm not sure what happened there at the race. So I don't know if they retracted some type of penalty or something, or what happened there. I believe Lane Glauda was up on the podium.
Okay, well, they got him in fourth, and they got Bodie in third on what I'm reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I was reading through it whenever I got home. I'm like, I could have sworn it was laying up on the podium, but
Hey, you know what? These kids are rocking and rolling, and they're doing such an amazing job. Um, Super impressed with how fast they are and the things that are going on.
yeah, no, they're putting up a stellar pace up front. The second row was having trouble keeping them honest this race. Jacob Smallwood, he was out front for a good portion of the race and went out on the last lap with the mechanical. So
Uh,
battling for the lead, if not in the lead on the last lap, and dropped out the mechanical.
Heartbreaking, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. That's just horrible. You know, as always, we get into our show and we start talking about the different things that happen. I really, really look forward to this style race because so many different things can happen. You're not just fighting your race mates, you're fighting the elements. I think more so here than anywhere else that you guys go. This is one of those tracks where there's just so many got yous everywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This track's every year is a fight a little bit. It's definitely a challenge. Then you get the couple of super mudders a year that are just just an absolute nightmare. I'd say that they're differently tough than Snowshoe, but equally tough. Just trying to get around with all of the mud and how deep everything is everywhere and all the lap riders stuck and everything.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome. You know, let's jump right into Pro 4x4. I think you're familiar with that class. You might have ridden a race or two there. Who got the whole shot and how did the race break down?
Yeah, no. So we do the 5-person rows. I think we explained a little bit during the pre-race show. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out. I explained the starting order a little bit, but there's top 5 in the 4x4 Pro class up there. Kaden jumped off with a whole shot. Gavin Jenkins was second, and then myself and Brandon Frazier third, fourth. Frazier was feeling real feisty early on, putting a lot of pressure on me. I was trying to put pressure on Gavin, try to take that second place spot. Gavin kind of went wide and cut down out of the corners. I was trying to go up Gavin's inside, and Brandon just railed an outside and passed both of us. And I was trying to trying to put pressure back on Gavin, trying to get up to third so I could stay with Brandon. We're going up an uphill, and Gavin threw a chunk of mud, and it hit my key fob up on my handlebars and blew my key off of the four-wheeler.
Oh, wow.
So we use it as a kill tether. It's like, you know how the Can-Am key is. But yeah, for those who don't, it's a different style key, not twist turn. It's a plug and play more or less. So we used it as our kill tether, and it bumped it off. So I had it hooked up, and I was able to get it. Only lost one spot to Dayton Hickey there, but I was in 5th for a little bit. Passed my way back through the pack. Brandon made his way into the lead, and I got into 2nd. Was following him up a rocky uphill, and we were talking about part of the dealing with the conditions here. He was going up the uphill and hit a rock, rolled it out in the middle of the trail, and it was a high-speed uphill. And I wheelied into it and framed out on it real bad. I caught my A-arm in the right side of my foot, fender well in my foot peg. I hit my A-arm so hard it twisted my lower A-arm mount on my frame, and then I hit my fender well so hard it bent all the bolts and all the whole frame right there. It bent all that into my motor. So we got to do a motor swap, a frame swap after this race.
Oh, wow.
Where I hit that rock on the first lap. So I twisted my A-arm up, and where I bent that fender well up, it pinched off my rear brake, so I didn't have my rear brake pedal.
So you had no rear brakes for the race?
Halfway through the first lap.
Oh, wow.
Race.
That's incredible. On a critical race like that.
Yeah, it's super, really sketchy track to try to push the pace on with all your brakes.
Man.
So I was limited to just the front brakes. I didn't have my foot brake. I had my hand brake with the rear, but the amount of pressure I was having to put, I don't know what was going on with how it was pinched off, but I may as well not have used them. So I was just focusing on using the fronts.
Man. And that's got to put some extra pressure on your hands when you're having to brake that hard and throttle, you know, to keep the machine under control, right?
I pumped up pretty bad first and second lap from over having to use that front brake and adjusting to it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I had that going on. Held second there for a little while. Brandon held the lead. I was doing my best to keep him honest with adjusting to it, and Kaden was keeping me honest, but he'd bobble here and there, and he'd gain and lose on me, yo-yo on me, as I was just trying to figure out how to ride the thing at that place with no fronts, no rears, just the fronts. And then halfway through the second lap, my gas cap comes off.
Oh, wow.
So I get we ran some different race fuel for Snowshoe, just try to give it a little more oomph at the elevation, but soaked my leg in that race fuel. It was red for a couple of days. It's mostly fine now, but I definitely got a little bit of chemical burn from all the gas that got dumped on me. So
How did that affect your gas mileage per se?
I had to pit twice. I knew I would have to pit twice.
Because of that?
Yep. So I had beginning of the third lap, stopped for they didn't have a gas cap ready, so I stopped for some fuel and a rag and a zip tie.
And that didn't work very well.
So it worked as good as it could. It was keeping most of the splash while still getting a little bit. And then I stopped beginning of the fourth lap and still in second place. I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds down, I think. And stop for fuel again at the beginning of the fourth lap with the actual gas cap.
More fuel and a gas cap.
Yeah. So I really didn't figure out how to ride that thing until halfway through that third lap. So lap 4 and 5, I was felt like I could flow and attack the track a little bit. The lap times don't really show up, but the track got worse, and the lappers got worse, and my lap time stayed super consistent. So I felt like I was holding pace even with the track and everything.
How did Gavin, he didn't seem to get himself up on the podium. Kaden is riding phenomenal, and he is coming into his own because he's been challenging you and Frazier more than ever. I mean, he's hole shotted some, he's led some, he's fighting for these leads, and it just seems that he's coming into his own where Gavin, there's a little bit of gray area there. Is he struggling to keep up, or is he, is something going on that nobody's aware of?
I think Caden's just stepping up. It's hard to make that next step, and I think it's just Caden's taking one lap, and he's turned that into 2 laps and 3 laps, and he's had a couple of races where he's battled all the way to the end for the win.
Yeah.
So he's starting to put it together. It takes a few races. It takes a couple of years to put it together, and he's getting there. And Gavin's at the start of that process, I think.
Yeah, because he seemed. Do you think he could be having that mid-season, mid to close to end season fatigue, where a break's going to help him?
Maybe. Yeah. Why not? Absolutely. I hope everything helps my boy Gavin out, right? So no, it's just up to them to keep digging. See, if you want it, go get it.
Right. Frazier ended up third. Did you and Kaden end up catching him and passing him, or was there some lapper nefarious race course conditions that helped you guys out?
He said he started getting limp mode problems. I caught him and passed him straight up for the lead. I don't know if he hit limp mode right after that, or he maybe hit it once before I caught him, or I didn't see it. But he said he was having limp mode issues. And that's why he dropped so far back the last couple of laps. But I already caught him and made the pass for the lead, and was rolling with no rears.
Wow. And then Kaden must have caught him and passed him as well.
Yeah, where he's having his limp mode issues, Kaden was able to reel him in and take that second spot.
For the listeners and everybody involved that it's not 100% with your machines, when you guys are having a limp mode issue, that could be from a fuel pump failure to a loose wire causing something like that?
Pretty much for us, it's just if it overheats.
Okay.
The only time we're going to have that is when we're having an overheating issue, and it's the computer telling it to not burn itself down.
And that's generally clogged radiator, low coolant, oil issue.
Typically, it's either going to be a clogged radiator or a broken fan. As long as your fan's working, for the most part, unless your radiator is completely packed, you'll be good.
How much debris did you guys get in the radiators or the front of the machines? I know that you and Frazier ride for different teams, but you guys both ride for companies that are well educated in taking care of GNCC machines. Did you guys get into a lot of mud?
Yeah, no, there's definitely like I said, there's definitely soft spots where the first ones to hit a lot of it. So there's a lot of slop on top this first lap or two. But I mean, my mechanic sent me a picture of my radiator after the race, and you just like this thing's spotless for a snowshoe.
Really? So so something out of the ordinary happened for Frazier, most likely.
Probably he was like I said, he was riding me really tight early on. I know we were throwing a lot of roost early, and then he was picking through the pack. Maybe took a lot of roost from Caden early on, and then the lappers, it just adds up quick. So maybe it was mechanical. Maybe it was just taking a little bit too much roost.
And taking roost like that in the first two laps could cause that limp mode or that heating issue late in the end of the race.
For sure. Yeah. And with how sticky and thick the mud was, it just cakes your motor and then you lose all like air coolant, right?
Right.
If it's dry out, you'll still get a little bit of like air cooling because there's nothing covering your motor and baking on your motor.
Where if it was wetter, the the water would help cool it because it'd be washing some of the mud off.
Exactly. And cooling it off with the water, but it was just really thick.
Okay. Okay, I'm starting to get a better idea. I was thinking that it was going to be more, it would have probably been better for him if it would have rained.
Yeah, I think it would be better for. I think the track was really racy. It just, yeah, maybe that would have helped with his overheating issues, but I thought the track was really good.
That's great. This is the last round before the break for you guys.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
many,
sir. We got 4 more after the break.
right. How much riding do you think you'll do during the break, on the local stuff to stay physically fit and in tune with the machine um, during this break period?
A lot, a lot. I plan on winning a lot after the break. So no, I've been doing my thing. You got the 9-2 camp coming up this weekend. Really excited for that. I love doing my camps, so doing that, and then the Dirt Nasty Tune-Up camp, whenever it happens this summer. I do a little bit of coaching on the side here and there. Yeah, and then I'll definitely hit a few locals when I ride with a few guys, and just stay learning, stay growing.
Well, and the on-demand video, the ATV on-demand video came out, and you're the star of the show. So that had to that'd be pretty cool for your resume, right?
Yeah, no, and I enjoy doing it at the same time. So I think it's good for the sport, and if it gets my name out there a little bit more, great. But no, I enjoy doing it. Our buddy Joe, good, always love doing it for him.
Right. Joe's a great dude and did a great job with that video. I really enjoyed it. He was telling me that there's more talking in it than normal. You know what? I think it was that kind of information needed to come out and the conversations needed to be had. And I don't think he could have picked two better guys to do it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, yeah, Mike led the way. Mechanic Mike Seegers, KMK Off Road. He led the way and ran it, and I was just there for comic relief.
Comic relief. Nice. Well, we're gonna head into the WXC and talk a little bit about that. And Chloe Harper is won 5 of these races. And what I think I saw, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, she got off early in the race.
That video that you've seen on her story,
Yes.
that was on the last lap battling for the lead, from what I understand.
Really?
That, from what I understand, it was last lap. That was probably 2 mile marker on the last lap out of 10. So she was able. She took a little bit of a digger out in the open section, caught a rock, and ended up on her head, and was able to bounce back and run after Avery Collins, who she was battling for the lead for the win.
Yeah, that's talking about Avery. That's her second podium of the year. And for her to podium at Snowshoe, man, that's some skill. She
Yeah,
had a great ride. And she led to boot.
yeah, she was. Yeah, yeah. If what I understand about that video is correct, yeah, she was leading on that last lap and in the battle for it.
Man, that hurts kind of the points for the other ladies that are chasing. Elioff didn't seem to come through like we expected. Maybe the break will help her. I'm betting money because they're so quiet and there's not a lot of media from that camp. she could be battling an injury. You
Very
know,
possibly not being public about it, and I could definitely see him doing something like that. But yeah, I know there's a big bottleneck. I'll send you a picture after the podcast if you want to post it in here or something, crop it in here. But there's a big nasty bottleneck every single lap. So it's clear first lap for all the pro riders. Second, third, fourth, and fifth lap, there was at least 30 riders there for me every single lap, and there wasn't a lot of places to go. But yeah, I guess Jess got caught up there a couple of times, rolled bad, and rolled the bike a couple of times. I don't know
well,
about the other riders and how they fared through it, but I do know that Jess had some problems there.
well, that's a bummer for her. I hope she's okay. Um, I haven't reached out to her camp. I haven't reached out to her camp this year. I'm going to have to do that, especially in this off time, see how things are going, see if she has any comments or anything that she'd like to put on the show, just to talk about it because she is a great champion. I really enjoy talking with her when you get the chance to. Um, so we'll see how it goes. I don't think she likes being in the third spot in points. Um, but it is what it is. I expected more out of Caitlin. I don't know if the bottlenecks and some of the things that went on maybe affected her a little bit more than it should have, but that's a tough race.
Yeah, no, the bottlenecks were crazy. The lappers were crazy. I think just finishing for a lot of people was a win. So
Yeah. So Chloe's extending her points lead, making a statement. It's by far from over because she's still close enough. If she has a bad race and Hannah has a good race, Hannah could pass her. And Jessica's not out of the points by no means, but you know, you have Avery and Caitlin that are probably fighting for that 4 spot this year. But we'll see how it all breaks down with the last 4 races. Remember, Chloe last year came out and won all 4 of them.
yeah, and she looks like she's trending upwards again. Looks like she's on that trend to do it again. So up to the champ to stop her. Champ Hannah Hunter up there for her to stop her. So
Yeah, yeah, and Hannah's no slouch when it comes to that. Because she's a multi-time champion and she seems to have gotten her riding legs underneath her. She's starting to get used to the Yamaha and do the things that it need to do to put herself out front. So Chloe's just the tough one right now, and maybe it's just her year.
yeah, yeah, but that's why we go racing. I guess we'll find out here in a couple short months.
Exactly. So let's go back to this what I call the most competitive class out there, and we'll talk about the XC2 guys. And um, the West Coast guy did it. I don't know how he did it.
Convincingly, yeah, over a minute or at a minute.
He's got 2 in a row now. Um, and he was running well in the mud a few races back when he had a bad race. So maybe he's starting to figure it out. But Alex is no slouch and not going to give him an inch. So those two, I think, the last 4 races of the year are going to battle it out. They're only 15 points apart. And if we talk about a throw out, you know, Braxton has 2 9s, and the worst finish for Alex to throw out is a 4.
I think it's 2 throwaways in the XC2 class.
Yeah, that with Braxton throwing away 2 9s and Alex throwing away a 4 and a 3, that's fallen in Braxton's favor.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's too close for comfort for sure. But yeah, they finished 8th and 9th overall, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, both top 10 overall. So they weren't slacking on nobody's. Yeah, up there about the XC1 guys and made themselves feel welcomed.
Yeah, and the one guy that we don't talk about very much, Andre Williams, we don't talk about that individual very enough, but he's third in points, got himself fourth this round. Jeremiah Wolf had a great ride because he was third. And so the top 5 in points came in the top 5 positions. Is that accidental or is it because they just earned it?
I
What's
think
your
they're
opinion?
starting to establish themselves at this point in the year. So I think it's going to be more. You'll see them guys around the top 5 a lot more than earlier on in the year.
Well, Alex Elioff, who's missed a couple rounds. Um, well, he didn't miss a couple rounds. He had a couple bad races. He's got 2 6th in a row. So he must have done something right to ride that hard and get himself, moved through the field to get 6th in class. Um, but yeah, some of this stuff is pretty awesome. These guys, like I said, these guys are incredible. They're all fighting tooth and nail, basically for a trophy and bragging rights.
Yeah, and I think all of them at the end of the day want to make it to the red plate class, XC1 class. So they're just trying to find their way there.
James was an 8th. James Galata.
Oh yeah, no, the mountain's tough on you, so it's not everybody can get a top 5 every time. So your top 5 points are starting to get that confidence and try and make themselves, uh, established and everything.
Yeah, you got to watch part of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
How were the bottlenecks in that race, in the afternoon race?
I couldn't be everywhere. It seemed like it had pretty good flow. The guys in the PM race are all A and B riders, so they're able to get through most of the obstacles pretty good. Howard's Hole looked crazy again with all the spectators and the pro rider in front of you having issues and you having to wait for him to get passed by 3 and 4 guys.
I saw a video of in Howard's Hole and I could not tell pro, amateur, whatever it was, but they were on 450s, they were on Yamahas, and the bikes had come together, and it was like the spectators weren't allowing them to free themselves up to continue the race because they like mobbed them.
Yeah, I have no clue. Maybe just too many people, too many Indians, not enough chiefs, too many hands in there trying to help.
Yeah, it was crazy. It didn't look like the riders were all that happy with that amount of people swarming them trying to help out.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people down there can get very overwhelming very quick.
Yeah, exactly. XC1, what a race. Who got the whole shot and how did that break down?
I can't remember off the top of my head who got the whole shot. Um, but Walker Fowler fell to an early lead and just kindly ran away with it.
Really?
Yeah, he ended up putting over a minute on Wyatt Wilkin, who's a second place rider. And then Jay Shadron wasn't too far behind in third in a good battle with Josh Merritt. Bryce Neal was in the mix early, but he was having issues with his quad starting. Something with the starting sequence that wouldn't go, but they could get a bump start. But I guess he stalled it in Howard's Hole on the first or the second lap and dropped way back, but was able to get fired. And then later on in the race, he fired it again in a worse spot or something with less spectators or just harder to get bump started, and he lost a lot more time. So
Yeah,
there's two spots where I get bump started and lost minutes of time, from what I understand.
so to get an 8 out of the deal is pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, just keep pushing forward and keep riding how he does and keep the machine alive.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So Fowler took the flag, you know, took over Howard's he took over the mountain, staked his flag, so it's Fowler's mountain now, and
It was
I
really
think,
cool.
huh?
I was pretty cool doing the flag stamp and everything.
I don't think Adam's real happy with that. But I don't know what bullets he has in his gun to fight that off. Even though he did come out of there with a 6th, which is a pretty good run. A couple of years ago, he ended up breaking a chain in Howard's Hole and didn't even, was on the first lap.
Yeah, Fowler can't hear him from all the way back there after all that smack talk he was doing.
Right, right.
Uh, he,
Merritt,
he's gonna plant that flag.
Merritt was talking some trash too, and him in fourth, it didn't help himself any.
And
Didn't
it seemed like
didn't.
his issues early and was back, but he fought forward from back, so he earned that fourth.
Oh, Merritt had to fight his way forward.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know, answer me this. Hunter Hart is one of these guys. He's super fast, but this year he's super inconsistent. It's just in the years past when I've watched Hunter, he's always been consistent. Did they change something in his program that I'm not aware of?
No, it's just it's just the way the sport goes. Sometimes you're hot and cold, and sometimes it's going, and sometimes it's not. So, not sure if he's trying to be too reserved at times, or if he's getting excited and making mistakes. Um, yeah, it's just things aren't going his way right now. He's had a couple of races go really well. He got one at Powerline not so long ago. He's been on the box a couple of times. So, uh, things click when they click. He just gotta figure out what's not clicking.
Yeah, it's crazy. With Walker winning that and Bryson getting an eighth, doesn't really do anything to the points because the round before that, Walker got an eighth, Bryson was third, but still, the points are the points. For Walker to eclipse the 42 points that he's behind, drastic bad things are going to happen for Bryson. And with the strength of his team and the strength of his riding abilities, I just don't see that happening for them guys. Anything's possible. That's why we race the races. But we'll see how the break goes for him. If all goes well, this will have aired after the fact, but supposedly Wednesday at 6 o'clock for my bench prep conversation. I'm supposed to have the PDV American team with Fowler, Gross, and Cole Richardson.
Very cool. No, that'll be a very fun show.
I hope so. We're having a little trouble locking everybody down, but um, Braxton's in, and one other person said they were in right when we started taping, and I missed who it was, so I'll have to go back and check on that. Um, I want to get your opinion based on some of the things that are going on. Jay Shadron is starting to come on as the year progresses, with podiums. Is this something where he's figuring it out, or has he just been putting himself in good positions in the beginning of the race, and that's why his finishes are changing? What's your perspective on that?
Uh, I think it's a little of both, but definitely the second one, he's been getting really good starts and just starting up front, and he's been holding a good enough pace the first two laps that it's just turning into 3 and 4 laps. So I really didn't expect it this year out of him, especially not this dominant at this point in the year. So back-to-back podiums and a lot of top fives and being in the race early. So yeah, he's showing a lot of promise right now.
Right. And, good to see Stephen Harrell came bouncing back. He got a top five. He's had
He
some,
needed that.
yeah, because he had some really strong finishes in the beginning, and then it's tapered off. And now, if things are going right, it'll taper back up for him. Uh, Wilkins, um, running there up there, fourth in points. I think it's fourth in points, isn't it?
I think he was sixth before
Yeah.
Snowshoe. Second helps.
He's fifth in points. He's right behind Josh Merritt, right above Stephen Harrell. So Wyatt's another one of those guys. I think if he's getting the starts, he's going to finish in the front. I don't know. Is he a battler from behind? You know a little bit more about Wyatt than I do.
He's this year he's been a bad starter, which has made him a battle from behind guy. So and he's done really well with it. Early on in the year, he was struggling a little bit with some mechanicals and some other things, but it seems like he's finding his stride with or without the starts.
You know, as some of these riders get older, and I'm not trying to lump you into this, but because you are not a young man anymore, but you're not old either. As some of these riders like Josh Merritt gets a little older and they start looking at life away from racing, um, is it just the experience of doing it for so many years? Like when I started following Josh, he was a eighth, ninth, 10th place guy. Now he's pretty regular a top 5 guy. Got a couple wins under his belt. Is it just the experience that's allowing him to get there, or is it the father time clock kicking in that says, "Hey, if you're going to do it, you better do it now"?
I think it was a second one for Josh. I think he really started to put everything together. And it's both. Again, it's both. I think he's just like, all right, if I want to do this, I want to do this. And he really started to crank down. He got with Mark Notman and Walker Fowler and got on that team and really turned his career around.
Getting more quality machines, getting more quality teammates. This is something that's changed his program for the better, obviously.
Yeah, he got with Mark. I don't know if it was a little bit of writing he got to do with Walker or just the mindset shift or what it was for him, but it worked.
I've had some conversations with Mark Notman. I think he is a positive force for whoever he works with.
Yeah, yeah, multi-time champion mechanic. He was a former XC1 pro, so he knows his way around the block, and he's seen a lot, so he knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two.
Right, right. Just it's like you take the time with your guy and you talk to each other and you trust him and you guys move forward based on that. I think that Mark's giving that to his team guys, just like some of the other teams that are out there. Phoenix Racing with Bryce and Neil and Junior. I mean, these guys, Junior may not be having a consistent success, but Junior's fast enough to have consistent success. I don't know what seems to be going on when he doesn't have a good race. Maybe it's getting mired, caught back in the pack is hurting him. But when he doesn't get caught back there, he's as fast as anybody.
Yeah, no, dude's got so much bike skill and potential. It's just up to him to figure it out. He's got a great team around with that Phoenix Racing team. Matt Pierce Performance does all this mechanic work, and he's one of the best on Yamahas on the 450s in general. So, yeah, he's got a great team around him. And then Bryce Neal on the other end of that Phoenix Yamaha, I think he's his own mechanic and does 100% of his work himself.
I think he does 99.9% of it. I know that he does have help when he needs it. And, the little bit of information I've got out of Phoenix is there to help him do whatever he needs whenever he needs.
Yeah, that's a good team to be on right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you got support, which you have great support, and a couple of the guys in the class with you have great support. So that's really what it's all about, is just great support.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's rare you get in a situation like that, and he's making the most of it.
Right. So when we get off break, are we going to see a Bryson Neal sweep?
I don't know. Walker's hungry. Walker's really, really hungry. And Hunter could show up. Junior could have a good summer. Merrick, so many guys could step up. We could have a couple mutters. It's it's gonna be hard to stop the Bidwell bullet, but there's a lot of guys swinging.
So you got buckwheat. You have Penton.
Yep.
Ironman.
Can you
And
get
Harden.
Can you get the fourth?
Can I get the fourth?
Yeah.
The Mountaineer.
Oh yeah. Do you look?
I did. I've been looked right off my calendar. I missed the Mountaineer on my first scroll through September. So those 4 tracks, Ironman is a fast course. Could be anybody's really race. If it's not raining, it's probably going to be Bryson.
I mean, Walker rides really well there too. And then Hunter Hart's another guy who rides really, really well there.
So, I mean, those are the top 3 guys in points. What about the buckwheat? I don't remember a lot about this place, about the course. Who's your stronger guy there?
And that's a little bit more of a technical course. It's got a little bit of rock to it. It's in West Virginia, but it's got good loamy soil at the same time. But there's a lot of single track. Bryson does really well there. That one's kind of a toss-up, man. I think you could pick any of the top 8 guys, and they could win it if things click. If they have a good summer, and they have a couple things go their way during the race, they would be in the race.
being that September and October are the last four races, do you think that weather's going to play a part in any of them?
We normally get one good mutter before the end of the season during that stretch, or the first one back is an absolute dust bowl. Like last year, the Mountaineer Run. Yeah, because someone was in front of you, you couldn't see.
Wow. And yeah, you guys hate the dust, so I get it. How about Penton? If I remember correctly, that's a pretty rough course.
It just depends. It depends on how the moisture is for the day. It's got a lot of big G outs, which is just like the hard up to downs where you're going to frame out going into it. A lot of G outs there, high speed G outs. And then we've been racing on the property for well over 20 years, so the main courses are pretty beat in. It's really hard pack, and you push any good topsoil to the side right off the rip. So you're just kind of riding the cushion and the edge of the track, just trying to find traction.
Okay. Well, you answered a lot of questions without answering a lot of questions, but that's okay. Let's hope that we get to talk before the break's over. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Great job on Snowshoe, and to everybody out there at Snowshoe, if you finished, you didn't finish, but you raced, congratulations. That is one hell of a place to go and ride. So, hats off to everybody.